Ladies and gentlemen, Keishla Lagoa.
Pasión corre en mi sangre, me levanta y me mueve pa'lante. Ser boricua es saber el maquillaje químico. Jíbaros bronceados, plantando y trabajando, somos indios taínos. Esclavos negros, astacados, pero con el ritmo del alma, somos africanos. Plagas blancas que matan, seguimos conquistando, somos españoles. Creciendo con cultura es lo más importante. Si no sabes de dónde viene, no tienes destino. Te parten en mitad y te hacen creer en lo peor de ti mismo. Cae en las trampas que destruyen a tus hijos. Y dice que no vales nada, pero de donde venimos lo refieren a un Puerto Rico.
Hola, mi nombre es Gilberto Gonzalez. Bienvenido a Entre Nosotros on CCPTV, una programa educativa del Community College of Philadelphia. Y hoy el show va a ser en inglés. So I would like to welcome today's guest, Rosaura Torres.
Gracias.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, Gilberto.
So,
to be here.
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
My parents, well, I'm originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
My parents came to Philadelphia in 1963. I've been here most of the time ever since. Happened to be one of the Latinos that lived on 19th and Calo Hill. My grandmother in the 40s lived at Mount Vernon Street, and in the 50s she was there. I'm a grandmother of 5. Mm-hmm. That's my joy right there, are my grandchildren, and very protective of them. And I feel that I'm kind of humble and modest, but as an activist and as a very loud speaker, I am doing everything in my power to continue.
Right now, you're an author.
Yes.
And an activist.
Yes.
So tell me, why a book? Why, and the title of your book?
Excuse me. The title of my book is Abuse Hidden Behind the Badge. My reason for writing the book was because no one would hear my voice. And I was afraid that I was going to get killed. I felt that it was time to speak out and to show people that in regards to domestic violence involving police officers is something that has been covered up for more than 30 years. So this was my decision.
Mm-hmm. So like how was it hidden? Like it started at one point, and then how was it hidden?
I reached out for help. Many knew that, and as simple as I can put it, I was getting smacked around by my ex-husband at that time. Mm-hmm. Many knew that, I was reaching for help, and they even told me at one point, they couldn't help me because of who he was.
So it was almost like the community was hiding it,
yeah.
The entire community.
The police community.
Really?
The police community. We all call that, the blue wall, the code of silence. That's a deep, deep water right there when it comes to the police department. We don't count. The wives don't count. We don't count.
And what about family, friends? Were you able to talk to them at all about this? And
not my parents. I was so ashamed. Gilberto, my mother and father thought that he was the greatest. I couldn't tell them until it was too late. Excuse me. It was too late. By that time, I had my retinal detachment, and my mother always had a suspicion that there was something going on. I am the youngest of 9 children, and my father never put his hands on us. I was not accustomed to that. There are friends of mine, friends of his, that knew that he was beating me. Just recently, I ran into an officer. I can't give her name because she is still on the police department. She goes, I remember when you were getting beat, and internal affairs was involved, but it was squashed. It was squashed, Gilberto. And I'm thinking, okay, I guess I'm not crazy after all, as he said. People knew of the abuse, but who he was more important.
So you came, you and your family came from Milwaukee to the Cottle Hill area. Then eventually you guys moved up to North Philadelphia. So tell me what it was like growing up in North Philadelphia, different events that happened in your life up there that impacted you and kind of made you aware of things.
I remember as a little girl, I was 5, on the corner of 19th and Cottle Hill, where the 9th District was at the time. My cousin Lucy was stabbed multiple times by her stepfather, who was obsessed with her. I remember hearing her screams, Gilberto. I can still hear her screams, and I was just a little girl. We were all screaming, my sisters, my brother, my mother. My 2 older brothers, Louis and Jose, went running out the house, running to the corner, stopping him from stabbing her. He ran off. And not long after that is when we moved to North Philadelphia, and nothing but gang war.
So did she survive the attack?
Yes, she's in Florida now.
She's in Florida?
Yes.
And was he ever arrested, charged?
Yes. He was arrested. Family has a tendency of not wanting to talk too much about that, and I know back then that domestic violence is something that you really don't discuss, but now people want to talk about it. But back then, you know, as I'm a little girl, so who wants to talk about what happened to her stepfather? And as far as I know, you know.
And do you think that the silence part, people not wanting to talk about it, do you think that's a cultural thing, or is it just in general that's what people do in all different cultures?
Yes. It's a general thing in all people. It's something that the silence of domestic violence is killing many, and it's just not women. It's men, it's our children. You know, do we realize how this affects our children, how it affects the men and the women? And the silence is deadly, it's very deadly. So this is why I decided, my silence almost cost me my life. Keeping silence is not the answer.
Now, when you got your family moved up to North Philadelphia, there were more instances of violence and kind of like an awareness of what was going on.
Yeah. Gang war. There was a lot of gang war going on. It's kind of sad because, you know, it was the norm. That was supposed to be normal for us. Leaving Cottle Hill, as a child, I remember feeling safe. Once we moved to North Philadelphia, that safetiness was gone. It was no longer there. My sister and I had to throw ourselves under cars in order not to get shot. So this type of violence in the streets has been going on a lot longer than people care to realize.
Was it Latinos against Latinos, Latinos against blacks,
yes, whites? It was more it was multiple. It was Latinos against blacks, blacks against Latinos, whites, because at that time there were still a lot of whites that still lived in the neighborhood.
So tell me about the book, Abused, Hidden Behind the Badge.
Yes.
What made that happen? Like, why the book?
Since I was 19, I wanted to write the story of our family, from Cottle Hill to Philadelphia to Camden. And, you know, I always describe my ex-husband as my knight in shining armor, who turned out to be a nightmare. He was the black knight in shining armor. But there are so many women and men and children that don't survive. I survived. And I had to tell my story. Some people criticize me. It was, you know, it's raw. And I'm like, yeah, it's a novela, it's a soap opera. But it's my story of survival. And if I can help one person, that defeats all. But I survived. Yes, it caused me retinal detachment in both eyes. But I'm here.
Now the book, when it came out, there was some resistance to the book?
Oh, yeah. There still is resistance.
Like from who and how did that come about? And how did you feel about that?
I was sad because I was called a liar. I had some people give me their comments on Amazon. But my children and I know the truth. And could they call them a liar? You know, I never wanted to involve them in what I was doing, but they couldn't call them a liar. So because his high position as chief inspector for the Philadelphia Police Department, of course, who am I? I'm just, as they call me, I'm the jilted ex-wife or the jilted soon-to-be ex-wife. So they're not going to listen to me. Who is she, you know? Until...
So who gave you the strongest resistance? Like blocking you or stopping you from showing your book or presenting your book?
Do you know Philadelphia still has not acknowledged? Only Dr. Castellano, I love him, IDEA has supported me. Impacto has run a story on me. Of course, you're my brother. But other organizations who I try to, you know, tell them about my story, try to reach out with the book, they just wouldn't. And
it's probably because of the political impact that the story
because many political people in the city of Philadelphia knew that he was beating on me. I wrote letters. I begged for help. But he made it clear that no one was going to listen to me. And he was right. He was right.
Have you taken the book to other states?
Yeah, New York.
And how was that?
Yeah, outstanding. I've won 3 awards, 2 awards in New York at the International Latino Book Award, which is James Olmos' baby, as I call it. Then I won at the LA Book Festival at the International from books, Latino books into movies. So I won honorable mention for that. Your
book has been received well everywhere else except Philadelphia.
Yes, yes, it has. When I won the award at the International Latino Book Awards for first place in women's issue, all I could do was cry because my parents are no longer here and I feel their strength. And I think this is why I continue to speak out, to help. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. I'm going to do everything in my power to help. So am I disappointed in how I didn't get that positive reception from Philadelphia? Oh, heck yeah. I'm angry because it's like, look, I may not have, I'm not a scholar. I don't have a PhD, but I'm a survivor.
And you got a story.
Yes.
Now, although it hasn't been received well in Philadelphia, it has impacted people.
Yes.
And just tell me, like, give me some examples of how and who the book impacted.
I have women from Kentucky, even from the UK, who have contacted me through Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google, and said, Rosa, your story has given me the courage to finally get that help and report my abuser, who happens to be a police officer. So that is more important to me than all the book sales in the world, because that tells me I'm doing something right. By writing my story and telling them there is that light at the end of the tunnel. You will survive this, and this you will become stronger. So no, many book sales, I can make millions. It doesn't matter. I'm helping 1, 2, 3, maybe more who have read the book and who thank me. Just recently, someone from Kentucky, and she says, Rosa, I'm getting him locked up. He is deputy commissioner in Kentucky, and he was arrested for abusing his wife and children. Yes.
See, that's inspirational. I mean, when a book like that impacts lives and can make a difference, then that's important. That's something worth reading. That's definitely a story that people should read. Now, other than the book, I know you've been involved in the Ada Guzman case. For those who don't know, Ada Guzman was slapped by a police officer in Philadelphia in last year's Puerto Rican parade. The outcry was immense. Many people sent letters in. A few leaders did get involved in pushing the initiative, but one of the people that really kind of led the push to bring this to the forefront of really world news has been Rosaura. So tell me a little bit about that experience.
When the verdict came through and Judge Dugan ruled on behalf of Lieutenant Josie, was on my 53rd birthday. And when I saw that and how a crowd of police officers were clapping for this lieutenant punching this woman in her face. I was at the parade, at the festival that day, and I don't know what people saw. What I saw was completely different. I saw family at the festival. So something inside of me, it just put a knot in my stomach, because this continues to happen. There is a history with this lieutenant. He had 19 cases against him for being abusive. But what does our police department do? What does the FOP do? You protect these men and women who are abusive. You continue to protect them. And I said, that's it. So I was reached through Facebook. Rosa, you know, we need to do this, we need to do that. I'm one person, but I didn't realize how much people followed me. And I started putting out there an event that we're going to be down in City Hall and we're going to protest. And I was so like amazed of all these wonderful people coming together. And that's what I mean. We as a people, not a race, but as a people must come together. And that's why I did it. It was just too much. I know the feeling of not receiving justice. And she did not receive justice, Gilberto. None at all. None.
Yeah, it was, you know, I think that when you look at that video clip of the officer slapping her, and the fact that it's Judge Dugan.
Dugan, yes.
Dugan justified that by saying that we didn't see the whole circumstance why he did that. That I think that someone said he was reaching for a beer can. I'm sorry that she had no beer in her hand.
No.
And it was just, I mean, I think the whole world saw it for what it was, which was a beatdown of a woman by a 6-foot huge police officer.
Exactly.
And for the judge to exonerate this man and just release him and find no guilt in him, I think was definitely a disjustice and a pushback for women and people who have been abused.
Yes.
And so I want to thank you for really doing that push with that.
Thank you.
Right now we're going to show a clip of Rosaura at City Hall, and this is her speech.
I'm an activist and a survivor against domestic violence by police. My main purpose here is for Ada Guzman and for all victims and survivors of abuse by whoever, and especially police. We know that there are higher courts than just the city of Philadelphia. We have federal courts that this judge can be turned down. His verdict is not enough. We have the right. It is time for accountability. It's not time for awareness. We know that this has been going on. We know that now that we have video cameras on our phones, people are taping. Back in the day, you know, they couldn't tape, but now we can tape. Anyone with common sense that looked at that video knew he was wrong. No justification. I don't care what that judge said. There is no justification for what he did to her. That's right. Imagine the insult to each and every one of us. It doesn't matter if she's Latina. It insults all of us. We are here together. Together to support one another, to be there for one another. We want justice. This is not violence. I refuse to be violent. I'm here to support each and every one of you. God bless you. Please, please, we be here together, and we're not going to keep silent. We're not going to keep silent anymore. It is time that we stand together with Ada Guzman and with all victims of abuse by police. We stand along with them. Enough is enough.
So how did it feel to get up there? I know that there weren't a lot of people, the mass, critical mass, but there were quite a few people there. I was there. What did that feel like? I mean, was there a lot of energy there? Was there, I mean, what was your take on the whole event?
It was very emotional for me. I got to meet Ada. I couldn't even, no words would come out my mouth. All I could do was cry and hug her. But I was just so proud of seeing people coming together. I'm not, you know, some people will say, oh, you're there to just, you know, be in the limelight. That's not what it's about. It has nothing to do with trying to get into the limelight. It's trying to do is that this will happen again. And it's hard. It's hard for many of us. This is why so many won't come forward, Gilberto. Many are afraid to speak out. So some may say I'm a radical, but I'm here to support many. There are so many. I've been approached by so many. So just seeing all these people come together was an amazing, amazing feeling. You know, it just tells me that there is hope. That word hope, that word faith. I'm not going to give up on that, and that was there that day.
Yeah, and you also mentioned that now we live in a culture where there's cameras, everybody's videotaping, and that's a great tool to have.
It is. I also say social network. You can become your own publisher and editor. You can tell your story. We don't wait for the media to cover it anymore. We're now being able to blog. I started off as a blogger. I started blogging. No one paid attention. Okay, I'm going to finish my book. So this is what people are doing. They're now speaking out. There are people like Clara Colon in New Jersey who also a victim of domestic violence by police. We have Dion Gates. We have Renee Harrington. She's all the way out in Michigan. But there are so many that are speaking out. So not only do I get that strength from you and those who really believe what we're trying to do, but I get that strength from people out in Tacoma, Washington, from Lane Justin's father, Lane Justin, who's the father of Crystal Justin, who was killed. She was killed by her chief of police husband in a parking lot in front of their children. And for the longest, she tried to get help, and they ignored her. They ignored her, and he killed her, and he killed himself. So when I see people coming together, that tells me there is hope, and I'm not going to give up.
Now, so one thing that the Ada Guzman case, it happened at the Puerto Rican parade. I noticed that in the clip there are lots of Puerto Rican flags. So is this a Puerto Rican issue? Is this a Latino issue, or is it more?
No, it's more. Domestic violence, abuse by police is a very big history. The history of abuse by police goes further back than even before we were born. Who are we kidding? They have that power. They know it. They know they have that power. So if you try to get help, you get ignored. And that's what happened with my case. I got ignored. People didn't want to help me. I wrote to politicians, and I don't want to mention their names, but they know who they are. I wrote to them. I even got approached after the book came out. Oh, we knew you were getting beat. I'm like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So this case with police brutality, period. But within the Latino community, I know that they feel, as a Latina woman, no one's going to listen to me. I'm Latina. Who's going to listen to me? I'm nobody. They're not going to help me. And that's how I feel about Ada now. They just say, oh, here, let me give you a couple pennies and let's move on.
Oh, so touching on that, what is happening with the Ada Guzman case?
Ada settled for $75,000.
Really?
Yes, she did. And my heart hurts for her because I know she feels it's not the money, it's the principle. These men and women are supposed to protect us.
But that seems like such a small amount.
It's a very small amount.
You know, I mean, like, do you know what made her settle? Like, why would they offer such a really small amount if you think about it? I mean, this thing made world news, and it's only worth $75,000. I mean, she's not
didn't
do
die.
Anything with that.
She didn't die. She wasn't killed. She has no permanent injuries. That's how they look at it. The law looks at it, she has no permanent injuries. Let's just give her a couple of dollars and tell her to go away. That's basically it. People might think, oh, she only did it for the money. She did not do it for the money because the legal system has failed so many. This is why I tell when I reach out to Congress or I reach out to our states, we hold you accountable. It's time. It's time for you to enforce the laws you created. So this is what the law is like. Give her a couple of dollars.
So give me your opinion of that judgment of Judge Dugan?
I believe he used poor judgment. You are married to a Philadelphia police officer. Your wife was in the courtroom. You should have removed yourself from the case. People are always going to look at you. The Latino community are registered voters. We vote. I vote. I've been voting since I was 18. So if I get a chance to vote you out, I'm going to vote you out. And I'm going to recommend to vote you out because you use poor judgment in the courtroom.
So what's next for Rosaura Torres?
Well, there is I'm writing a new book, The Continuance of Abuse Hidden Behind the Badge. I won't give the title of the name yet. I'm not stopping. Many feel that I'm ranting and raving on. Is
the follow-up book going to be a continuance from the first book, or
Yes.
is it going to be a different perspective, different experiences?
Different Experiences is a follow-up of the first book, but it's a more positive book to my readers to let them know, stand strong. Don't let them break you. We might bend a little, but we're not broken. I refuse to stop. I refuse to say as if you're ranting and raving on. I'm not giving up. I believe we can accomplish something, and I'm not giving up on my community or any community in Philadelphia. I'm going to keep supporting, and I'm going to keep being out there and protesting and trying to get petitions out there. But it's
so you encourage people that are being abused
to speak out.
To speak out.
Yes, yes. I know it's hard. I know many are afraid. Yeah, it's normal. It's a natural instinct, especially if they hold a very high position.
Well, that's all the time we have today. I want to thank my guest, Rosaura Torres.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you for tuning in. You have been watching Entre Nosotros on CCPTV, the educational channel of Community College of Philadelphia. See you next time.